9, 8.
You're watching
7,
Experience Comic Culture
6,
and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily
4,
to Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Look, everybody's in the room. Everyone's already made friends. I'm super happy. Lyle, the comic guy, is on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's here. I'm back in the office where I'm supposed to be, which is real nice because it's been a while since I've been in the office where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels good to be home and back where I'm supposed to be. You know, shout out to 360 Comics and everybody who's over on Instagrams as well.
Yeah.
It was also nice to be able to read books like on a couch that is my own, even though it wasn't my own. Technically, it belonged to a cat that was both not happy,
dangerous.
Right? Not happy and very happy that I was there. So I suppose we should probably just get into it.
Woohoo! Books.
So many bookses.
All right. I truly had no idea what to expect from this book.
Did it make you jump?
It didn't make me jump, but this...
Did you have to pour some sugar on it?
This is one of my favorite albums when I was in college. I used to play it over and over again. Over and over again. Especially, I don't know. Is it Love Bites?
So many good songs on this record, though.
Oh, no. So there's one of the songs on here where it has like Ronald Reagan saying they counted on America to be passive. They counted wrong. Love that. Anyway, there's all the things to love about this album.
Let's see. Big Love Bites is Pour Some Sugar on Me. Gods of War is a great underrated song on that record. Mm-hmm. Hysteria is obviously the second biggest hit on the record. But I will be honest, if you've spent nearly as much time in adult entertainment venues as I have in my years in radio, the song Women is a song you never need to hear again from this record.
It was on repeat in my car, all of the entire album, honestly. Okay, so I went into this book not knowing anything. And it's okay for you too. You don't have to have ever listened to this album or know anything about music, or I don't know. You just need to know a cool story when you see it. So this is, from what I can gather, a story about a very, very cursed guitar. Extremely cursed guitar. Starts out with the A band on a private jet. And then things go real sideways, and the band is all the dead. So, and then it jumps forward in time to another generation. That looks like they're going to get this cursed object out of storage, ? So anyway, it's a fun, very bloody tale. It is not a feel-good book. You have to like the guts and many bloods. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
In the comments, tell us your favorite Def Leppard record.
There you go.
I will tell you mine is definitely High and Dry. Not everybody's favorite, but definitely mine. Because again, I worked for rock radio way too long to like any of the others. So. Okay, so Eternal Warrior. This is a tie into the resurgence of the Valiant universe. Fred Van Lente written. Alvaro Papagiani, I think is how you say the last name of the artist. For me, the saving grace is the art. The art in this was just so on point for an Eternal Warrior story. I can't imagine Eternal Warrior stories with different art anymore. It's just so perfect. I am maybe not the target demo for this particular Eternal Warrior book. And what I mean by that is that it spends a lot of time at the very beginning sort of explaining who the Eternal Warrior is and their family. You know, the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Which I knew, but it was a nice refresher. And then it turns into this sort of time jumpy, hip hop around different points in the Eternal Warrior's life. And while that was good because we need an Eternal Warrior refresher, I think,
Mm-hmm.
it was like 2/3 one story from a real long time ago and 1/3 modern story, but like they're connected, but the connection isn't strong. It was weird. I sent Jay a text going, hey man, I know you're a Valiant guy. I need you to read and review this book because you can maybe do it you can maybe do better justice to this review than I can. It just felt like a miss for me. And because I've missed some of the Resurgence tie-ins, I'm thinking maybe I'm missing a part that I need to sort of make this feel like it's a good thread, right? So, like I said, if you like Eternal Warrior, it's great. It's perfect for you. And the art is incredible. But if you read it and feel like maybe you're missing some stuff, you're not the only one. And so it'll be interesting to see what somebody like Jay, who's been more on top of this Resurgence of the Valiant Universe stuff, has to say about it.
I wonder if there was something that happened because it wasn't last week, the finale of the Resurgence.
Yeah, no, right. And I missed some stuff. So it's like, I feel just like there's a puzzle piece, like you do a puzzle and there's just a piece missing in the middle.
Bet you it built on that.
Right, exactly. Like it's like you're playing Jenga and you forgot a layer.
Mm-hmm.
Like something isn't quite there, and I'd be interested to hear what somebody else has to say about it.
This is a really interesting book. This is the second book this week. I had no idea what I was getting into. And it is a long play in the book to try to figure out what's up. So it starts out a story about this fellow that's in the chair there. He obviously works for some mafia-like organization. When you meet him, he's along with somebody else from the organization who's like an enforcer who gets a little carried away in his enforcing. So this guy puts an end to that in kind of a brutal way, which puts him at odds with the rules of the org, right? He should pay for it with his life. But it just turns out that his boss likes him. So he says, don't worry about it, man. It's all good. So the truth is that it's not all good. So I don't know if it's the boss that changes his mind or the org just in general is like, nope, mob justice. So he ends up dead and goes to heck. But it turns out that he is maybe some kind of prophesied one. That little demon you see there on the side believes so, at least. And so this is kind of a really cool, if you like Spawn's like thing where, you know, he works for Malbosia. That's kind of like, instead of getting tortured for all of time, maybe you have to do work for us. It's really twisty cool. So I don't know. You gotta like dark stuff. You gotta like mob stuff. And there's way more stuff than what I told you. So it's not super spoily, but that's probably exactly what you would see from the solicitation copy, because otherwise you wouldn't know what this book was at all. So hence the Godfather of Heck. See, if you like the spawns, you like this. There's not, as far as I can tell, any kind of like countdown clock or powers that go with it like that, but and he doesn't have a costume, as far as I know. It's just him.
Okay. This felt a little too prescient.
Like it should happen right now?
Kind of, a little bit, maybe. So here's the deal. If you're looking for escapism comics, maybe don't with this one. Especially depending on where you come down on the political spectrum of things, right? Maybe don't with this one. But this is a story of a newly inaugurated president and their family having moved into 1600 Penn, which is the White House. The kids start at a local Catholic school, and you seem to think two things. There is a very religious tone to the family. There is a lot of talking about prayers and, that kind of stuff, which is fine. And, to each their own in terms of their beliefs, right? But it feels in this book like they're doing it to set you up for what happens later. And oh my gosh, does it happen later? The kids go to school, and like the daughter is a weird loner outcast, and the son is like Mr. Popular, and he gets in with the popular kids. And then some stuff starts to happening. Teenage prankery, but maybe it's not so innocent. There's a you'll see it if you read it. This is only a minor spoiler. There is a big attention paid to Latin class and how you don't need to know Latin in a book with the word exorcism in the title. And I don't know about anybody else, but I've seen enough exorcism movies where I know not needing to know Latin is like saying, I'm just going to go into this basement of this serial killer's house. That seems dumb. So some stuff starts to happen, and at the end of this issue, you start to see the hill, the crest of the hill, and coming over the hill. In that things are not necessarily as they appear in this sort of seemingly pious family. Whether that is by design or by mistake is still unclear. So very interesting. But again, I would say, depending on where you fall politically and how much like escapism you're looking for in your comics, this might be one to not jump right into. But I thought it was very interesting, and it was a good take. So I really like this one.
Oh, man. I hope all of you guys have jumped into Gail Simone's awesome Uncanny XMen. At least at my shop, it has been very well received and sells out all the time. I'll just get you caught up in a little tiny short synopsis. In the very first issue of this, some of the bits and pieces of what are left of the X-Men, Gambit and Rogue and some others, are just trying to survive post Krakoa, post Orcus and all that kind of stuff, and come across these 4 newly minted mutants that just don't have anybody to mentor them. Prof X is either presumed dead, or as we know, he's in deep storage, so it has no abilities. They've got him like locked down big time. So what we found out in that first issue is that there's kind of like a prophecy that's been put in motion that one of those 4 will be the end of everything. And we forgot that in issue 2. In issue 3, they remind us again. And in this issue, we see this tale of this character named Sarah Gaunt, who is heck bent on just destroying those four plus everybody else, mutant-wise. You see really some good battles. You see some awesome Nightcrawler action. And this really puts the family to the test. And you might see the inkling of those four young, newly minted mutants wanting to get into duo battles, which, I don't know, kind of feels like we should just like, and just for the in cases, just lock them in a room. Because, you know, one of those spells doom. Why would you play with fire like that? Not fair to the other three that are not. But anyway, that is the problem that you have when you have, you know, the future and you can see it coming, but you don't know specifics. Well, how do you deal with that?
Mark Millar has been building towards this series for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a long time. And as such, this issue feels like a letdown.
Oh.
However, I know better. Because I've been reading this series for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing where in the movies, you've been building and building and building to the final act, and they start the final act like slowly, but you know for sure that it's going to be utter chaos in just a minute. That's what this is. This is him going, hey, if I start at 150 miles an hour, where do I go from here? Instead, he's easing you into what is sure to be and is evidenced by the second third of the third third of this book. A wild thrill ride down to the crashing into the finale of Jupiter's Legacy. Like, you have superheroes versus superheroes, and it's never been entirely clear who actually the good guys are and who the good guys aren't.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good guys and they're all bad guys. It very much in kind of the same or similar similar vein to The Boys,
Mm-hmm.
where even the heroes are not great all the time, and the bad guys are not always bad. So you have that just sort of swirling at the beginning of this book, and then about 2/3 of the way through, it breaks. And the wheels fall off, and we're careening out of control towards this huge showdown that, again, I feel like we've been building towards for like 15 years. I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been that long with this book. And I'm very excited to see where issue 2 goes, because just as you're starting to kind of get your footing and, you know, hold on to your seat kind of thing, the book ends. And you're like, oh no, give me more. And so, like I said, this feels like it's a little bit of a chugging up the hill sort of slowly, and then all of a sudden it's just bang, let's roll. So this is going to be a very fun series, and Mark Millar and Tommy Lee Edwards have been, again, planting the seeds for what feels like eons, and now it's all starting to pay off. I just wish it would have paid off halfway through the book instead of 2/3 of the way through the book, because it would have felt a lot quicker as a read.
By the way, I'm still super pissed off that they canceled that show. I just want some other network to be like, you know what? We got this.
Guys, you know how angry Miss Jen is when she says pissed, because she would normally say peeved or something else.
Mm-hmm.
But when she's real angry, she goes to bathroom language, and that just it shows you how angry Miss Jen is about this.
Or I say things like, I am the anger.
Right.
If I start talking like
she ain't wrong. So
if I talk like Starfire, you know it's on.
Jay, Dead Boy Detectives has other things happening against it at the moment. I
Also
don't
love
feel
that
like
show.
I don't feel like it's truly over. But I feel like we maybe need to give it some time.
Okay. I love that they're continuing on, like, you know how sometimes when things happen in comic books, when a storyline ends, they just like start ignoring it and start completely fresh. I don't like those kind of retcons. They always make me feel empty inside. Like, why did I invest all my time and energy in knowing all the corners and nooks and crannies of what have been going on? I'm so proud of Marvel and all of its creators for embracing fully what has happened and uses that as story fodder going forward. This is continuing in that vein. And of course, you know, it's Shelby. So Mystique is a very, very dangerous Omega level mutant. So dangerous because if you can shift to look like anybody, it is nearly impossible to figure out how to fight you. Because once someone leaves the room, if you can shapeshift, how do you know who they've become? You can be talking to your best friend. Is that my best friend? I don't know. And she plays this up to big advantage. It's like when you first see her, she shows up and is clearly trying to get information out of Maverick. But it gets real kind of fun where part of the time she also looks like Maverick. She's after a specific, I think it's like some kind of contagion called, oh, I'm going to get this wrong. Dadgummit, like Prodigy or something. It's some kind of weapon that sounds like it's biological. That you just like, the way the storyline rolls out is just so creative where you're like, this is the way it must feel when you're like a Battlestar Galactica person and you don't know who the Cylons are and you just can't really trust anybody at all in your organization, outside the organization, because you just don't know if you're actually standing there talking to Mystique. So I think she's going to have her way at some point. She basically says to his face, I'm going to find out somehow. Because at some point, I'm going to be a person that you're going to tell. Or a person that you're going to lead to it or something. So really, you get to like revel in the bad buttery that is Mystique in this book series. It's going to be really cool storytelling. Ooh, Lucky.
This is another one that if you're looking for escapism in your comics, maybe don't buy.
Is this a reissue of this series?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Because this is the beginning of that really awesome series. It's mimetic, congenic, eugenic.
I think this is a sort of revisit.
Okay, cool.
I don't remember this particular storyline from that original Tinian run of mimetic. But this is another one of those where, again, if you're looking for escapism, not for you, man. This is, yeah, that very well could be Canadian. It could be an archival, like a reissue or something. But this is a story about when memes go wrong, man. It reminds me a little bit of Chuck in the sense of, and it always has, that whole, the intersect encoded images, you know, where you put a lot of data in an image and then it's able to embed that data in your brain. Except in this case, the image basically turns your brain into pudding. And you turn into some sort of psychotic. Everybody over here talking about Terrifier. This, well, if you're looking for gory craziness, this is it, man. People bleeding from the eyes and ripping each other's intestinals out and all kinds of madness. That is totally based on a meme that seems innocuous but isn't. This is definitely a be careful what you wish for, be careful what you put out on the internet, be careful what you follow on the internet kind of story, because you think it's just Charlie bit my finger, and what it actually is a brain parasite designed to kill you. He bit my finger, Charlie. No, you're going to die. If that met The Ring or something to that effect, this is this book. The art is really cool. Eric Donovan did a good job. Tinian is doing Tinians. This feels like a Tinian. And the fact that it's only 3 issues leads me to believe that he's not going to Tinian it up by having to write 37 other scary books, and this one gets less scary over time. So, I really enjoyed Mimetic. If it is a reissue, again, I don't remember. Just because it's been so long. But this entirely could be a re-release of this story because it feels real prescient, again, to our modern times. Also, avoid Reddit, apparently, is the message of this book.
Also, I am 100% certain that somewhere around pandemic, they did announce this series was being developed for something.
And that may be why it's back. That would make sense.
Yeah, to give people a chance, because it was very popular and it's really hard to get copies of it. So it makes sense that they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Fist of Kansu. Okay, we've been through the ringer with Moon Knight. We've been quite a few series. He appeared to die. We got Harvest Moon instead. We've had some really kind of crazy times with Moon Knight recently, and that's fine. And I know I'm being punny. I apologize. This is him coming back and being full in everyone's face. I'm here, and you guys just are going to have to deal with me. It is the really pretty white suit Moon Knight that I love so much. Like, I call him Dapper Moon Knight. This is really him kind of like strutting his stuff. It is him reappearing to people that he's dealt with before. And Harvest Moon is not gone, by the way. He's part of the, I don't know. They talk to each other, so I'm assuming they're getting along with a focused purpose. But this one is really perfect for you Moon Knight lovers. It is it just continues on with the storyline. So it's not retcon, it's not restarting, it's great stuff. Ooh, that's a different cover. That one's cool.
Where is Dan when you need him? This is the most Dan Wickline-iest book I've ever read. It is so pulpy, I had to get like an orange juice strainer out to get through it. This is Minky Woodcock, A Girl Called Cthulhu. And the premise of this is that this was a safer cover.
Yeah, it is. Because the other one has got some sides.
And oh, by the way, there are a lot of woo in this book. NSFW in this book. But so the premise of this book is simple. Minky Woodcock is a private eye, which is the case in all of the Minky Woodcock books, who finds herself hired to get close to Harry Houdini. And Harry Houdini is close to another famous H name, HP something or other. I think I can think his last name. HP.
There's tentacles, y'all.
Something like that, you know. You can figure that one out. But anyway, and they are writing a book together when Houdini dies. And then another famous horror person who may or may not be the subject of a Ozzy Osbourne song shows up looking for her help, and she has to go and seduce a woman who this person from this Ozzy Osbourne song is having problems with. And it all just turns into this weird, like, okay, if you were alive in the 1920s or 30s and were into the creepies, Minky Woodcock is investigating you. Basically. So this, again, this is the pulpiest of pulp. So pulpy, you could make paper out of it. Really fun story, though, if you're into characters like H.P. Lovecraft, Harry Houdini, Aleister Crowley. If you're into things like, double lives and secrets and a really weird mystery revolving around Call of Cthulhu, maybe check this one out. I enjoyed it, but my God, was it pulpy.
So the art, just a question, the art inside same-ish as the covers?
No.
No? Okay.
Not this cover. Okay. Maybe the cover you showed and covered with your hand is a little.
What just mean like painting instead of
No,
color.
it's almost watercolors with inks.
Okay, see, that's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's a pulp style art too. It's not super heavy painting. Don't think Frazetta, think Dick Tracy.
Okay. Cool. Crypt of Shadows is 4 stories starring the very spooky parts of our universe, including the lead-in story has to do with Harkness, who would like you to call her Lady Harkness, not Agatha. And it ends with her story. So it's kind of like bookends to the other stories that are in there. One is heavy into Vision and Scarlet Witch, although Scarlet Witch shows up in a couple different ones. As you can see on the cover there, that cover is not a lie. All those guys are in the stories that are in this book, including Namor, which you're like, what? Why Namor? Okay, I just bring them back. I'll inspect them and then bring a check and I'll sign it. Okay, cool. Got a collection coming in.
Damn, we're doing a show.
I'm doing work. By the way, you guys will like what I'm getting. So anyway, this is great. 4 stories of spook, especially if you like last week's Blade or any of the recent story with blood in it. You will like these. And it's the right time of year for them.
So I put Imani onto this book, and Imani really digs it. And he's right to dig it. In that this is modern pulp. But this is if a Humphrey Bogart movie was being acted in by like Idris Elba or Denzel Washington or something. You have your main character, Profane, is a detective who specializes in the supernatural, occult weirdness. And all of his villains are super weird, like the Red Glove and guys like that. And he just keeps finding himself getting dug deeper and deeper and deeper into a mess that is this story that he has found himself involved in. I said after issue 4 I was going to wait for the trade on this one. I should have. If for no other reason than I forgot what happened in issue 4. This starts off with a gunfight and ends with a gunfight, and there's some gunfight in the middle. But then there's some not gunfights around the gunfights. And there's some like drinking and summoning of mysticisms that is a little confusing, I'll be honest. So again, if you've been reading this and you've been digging it, keep reading it, keep digging it. But I think this is one that, for me at least, is so well woven in terms of in and out, in terms of the way the plot points it, that I need to consume it in a binge rather than in bites. Which is unfortunate, but also could be very fortunate, because it means I'm going to buy all the single issues and then buy the trade. So, if you're my LCS, you win. If you're my wallet, you lose. But at the end of the day, it's definitely one that I think would be better in bigger chunks than in smaller.
Okay. This book was delayed. So if you're wondering yourself, man, it felt like there was a long time between 4 and 5. I think, honestly, that it was rescheduled to give some breathing room to Absolute Batman. But it might have just been printing was slow for this book. Because I don't think it was because the creative team was slow, because they're not slow peoples. This wraps up in a neat little bow this fight that he has been having with, I'm going to totally forget the name of that super bad guy. Absolutely. You totally have it. And you always do in 0, 100, all the way to the end.
All right. While Miss Jen is writing checks,
I'm done.
the Nightwings, because Liam knows we're doing a show. So Nightwings, the Nightwings. And then he Nightwings some more and pretends Batman for a minute. And then he Nightwings some more. And then he pretends he's Batman some more. And then he Nightwings some more. I haven't read this book. I'm trying to fill time.
You're hilarious. Okay. So there is a super bad guy that looks like he has had a long standing fight with. He's basically got a bum heart, I guess, and has been replacing his heart over and over again to be able to stay alive in order to, I don't know, F up this guy's life. Seems like his entire purpose. So, and this kind of bites him in the butt in this thing, because he's chosen a heart that's not going to last for this issue. So basically all he's been doing this whole time is setting up the main character, Grayson, to pay the ultimate price in popular, like he's making it look like he is a bad guy and he's not. So it's kind of cool how this all comes to a head, and it takes part of the history of Dick's origin story with his parents and wraps it up in a neat little bow, because there were things that have been presupposed about his character and the death of his parents for a long time this changes. It doesn't retcon them. It's just a different POV. It's really, really cool. I'm so proud of this creative team for taking a character that I gave 0 wits love about at all and made me fall in love with the character. I get him now. I told you, he's not just a butt in a suit, which is what the joke was for a long time, right? Just give me a cover with him turned around, we're good. But he's a real character that I care about now. So if you did not catch any of Tom Taylor's run on this, it's a nice long one. You should go back and find it, even if it's only just this part, one of 5 to 5. Just this creative team deserves the Eisners that they got. Absolutely. They've converted me in many ways to being a regular DC reader now.
I, for one, will miss the trade dress. I've liked that logo for
a long time. And if you decide that you like that team, that Taylor's moving over to Detective to take over Romby. So follow him over.
Okay. Vicarious by Ryan Parrott and Eleonora Carlini. This is The Matrix meets Being John Malkovich. Basically, if you have money and you're willing to spend it, you can live vicariously through someone else's eyes. and you can tell them what you want them to do, and it's up to them to do it. So essentially, our main character is hurting for money. And so he decides to become one of these people. I wish they went through the small door. No, they just jack in, kind of like the Matrix, right? They plug into the system, and then you use a social network to pick who you want to pair with, and you can live your life. You can live life through their eyes. So if you, for instance, are someone who lives in a rural community and you want to see the big city, you can jack in and go to pick a person who lives in the big city and have them walk you around the big city. Right? That is I think you're supposed to believe that is the tamest sort of experience that people can get, right? It really does feel like people are using these they have a name for them and I can't remember what they are, but these people who you can put your brain into to do things that they are scared to do so they can feel the experience. So whether that be drugs or promiscuousness or, even if you're like maybe in the closet and don't want to be, you can make the person whose brain you're in not be. That kind of stuff. But you can't make them. They have to choose to do it, which is interesting. There's a level of choice here, but if you do it, you get paid more. So is there really a level of choice here?
Oh, so you kind of drive them like a bus. You just
Kinda,
put more
yeah.
money in the, you're like, I want to go,
Right. I want to do this.
Crazy
Here's
town.
some more money. Are you willing to do it for this?
Mm.
And apparently you can make a really good living doing it. There is a twist at the end that I didn't fully get, but this is one of those where I'm picking up the printed copy tomorrow. Because the PDFs we get don't do a great job at 2-page spreads. And this book has a lot of those. So it might have translated a little weird. So I'm excited to read it again on paper where the actual 2-page spread is in front of me. But this was a very interesting sort of, it's, if you're poor and trying to make ends meet, you can do this thing that's illegal, but only kind of, and then make as much as you're willing to make by going as far as you're willing to go so that someone else can experience the same thing you're experiencing without getting off of their couch. So yeah, it's like a better version of Gamer, I think. But
if you like this kind of concept, living someone else's life temporarily, try Bone Parish. It's Cullen Bunn, Boom Studios. It is a family that has figured out how to make a drug using the bones of the deceased. If you take this drug, you get to live out their life. You get to be them for a short amount of time, for as long as you're high. What?
Not so much that, I don't think. I think it's a lot more. That's part of it. But it's very much you're not living out their life. They're living out the life you wish you had.
Sure. Yeah.
So what up, everybody? Mike and Ash and Nate and everybody who's popping in, and everybody who's over on Instagram, by the way. We've got a ton of folks who have popped in over on Instagram. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. We've got a few more books to go. If you see something in the show tonight and you pick it up at your LCS, comment on the show after and let us know what you picked up that we recommended, or what you read and you were like, this lived up to what you said, or any of that kind of stuff. Comment after the show. It really helps us out to let us know what we should be reading and what we should be talking about.
Absolutely. All right. Here's another Grayson book. Batman and Robin Year One. This is, it feels very much like Batman 66 kind of art style, and it tells very early days of Dick and Batman trying it out as a team, a superhero team. So, and also trying to get the poor commissioner is like, I don't understand what just happened on, and because Dick shows up and starts calling him commish. He was like, no, commissioner. So it is early days. It is great. It'll make you have all the good feels. And because Dick just runs in, like, doesn't have any experience. Batman's trying to be like, hold your roll, man, go after me, or at least stay alongside me. He fouls up some stuff. So it's not rehashing material, because this is a new fresh look at that time of their lives. But I didn't get to read that back in the day. So for me, it's all new things. I like it.
Hey, Jay. Jay.
Oh, yes.
Be prepared to be real angry.
Uh-oh.
Jay is super mad that he didn't get to read this. This is part 2 of Where Monsters Dwell. Or the previous series we had from Kyle Starks, where we had a community of serial killers all living together. This is part 2. Different killers, except for some. And it's a power struggle. And we get introduced to the person who's pulling the strings. Or is it a person? Or is it a god? Or is it a demon? Or is it something else? And we have this guy who you met in the first issue, who killed a lot of the monsters, who is now become a monster. I am now become death. Maybe if this being that is controlling all of the other people can control me or can't, or maybe I'm going to kill them all. You have one of the new killers is my favorite yet.
You have a favorite killer?
In this, I do. He kind of looks like Leatherface, but is obsessed with putting things in people's butts. So he's very funny.
Say that one more time?
Leatherface. Huh?
Say that one more time?
He kind of looks like Leatherface, but he's super obsessed with putting things in people's butts.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard.
Like, he's talking to a guy who's like the holiday killer who only kills people on holidays. And he goes, look, it's Arbor Day. If you stick a tree up somebody's butt, it'll probably kill them.
Okay.
Which is this great moment. But there is so much more to this than just sticking things up people's butts while looking like Leatherface. Like, the killers are talking about unionizing because the workload is too heavy. And like, it's like, it really does feel like office procedural for the most twisted people on the planet. And again, they're all working for somebody, which is weird. Then there's this side story that's one of the kids who survived the first volume on a road trip with one of the killers who survived the first volume, trying to get him back to where he's supposed to be with other people, but like in kind of a Turner and Hooch kind of style, or what's the one with the monkey? Something the bear. Anyway, just this really weird sort of side story that's super interesting. So this book is super fun, and I'm super excited, and Jay is super angry.
I do not recommend tree colonics. Don't think they work.
True.
They're too sappy. All right. Man, Rodney Barnes. Stinker. Writing amazing things. I can see why they delayed this one and didn't put it last week, because it needed breathing room. This one's really cool. I don't know if it's if the A cover is this way, but the one that I read has like a white cover over it to protect it, because it looks like it might be glow in the dark. because all the white parts there are kind of raised up a little bit. So there's spot varnish and they look glow in the dark to me. I haven't taken it to a dark room. So the story is essentially something escapes out of Wayne Enterprises labs. Very gory escape, by the way. Everybody's dead. It's neat because most of the book has a bunch of internal dialogue narration blocks. And I'm always, whenever that happens, I always think to myself, is this a mislead for who is narrating? So those are always fun. So if you're ever annoyed by narration blocks, I think that a lot of the times this makes a really cool kind of way to mislead someone into thinking that they're hearing narration from the character you're looking at, especially if there's also dialogue there. I don't know that that's true in this case, but it is very insightful into the thought process of the narrator, who is very bloodthirsty. It does have full Batman in this book. And I will tell you that if you know the lore of how you might get turned from a human into a werewolf, you might be real happy about the last page. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I have 2 books left that are the same series, back to back, and we're running out of time, so I'm going to do them really fast. These are both Shane Connery Volk, who is the artist on Nottingham. He writes and draws this series, Prairie Gods. This is Race the Devil. This is The Devil Went Down to Georgia with car racing. If you are a fan of street outlaws or stock car racing or any of that off-road kind of salt flats racing that you see, this is a story for you. Castle, where you at? This one be for you, buddy. You have the greatest race car driver ever who moves back to his hometown with the sole purpose of retracing this lost racetrack, because he knows if he does that, he gets to race the fastest thing ever, which happens to be the devil. And he puts his soul on the line to do it.
Oh,
and the outcome is not what you might think. And it turns very much into a... Jay, go back. You're going too fast. It turns very much into a... yes, it did come out 3 weeks ago, but this is the first time we've had a chance to review it because the second book came out. Anyway, it turns into a very interesting sort of, is this the end of this story? Then we go on to the second issue in the series, which is feeling anthological. This one's Heaven's Trail. This is the story of the sheriff who you meet in the first issue, doing sheriffy things, but the sheriff is maybe not as humanoid as you would like him to be. This definitely has the good, the bad, and the ugly. Meets Hell's Half Acre, meets sort of Blazing Saddles in a way. You have a bad guy who's on the run. The sheriff rides out by himself into these hills. This demonic drifter finds and scares the bejesus out of the bad guy, only to have the sheriff bring him back to town. And all of a sudden, the sheriff's pistols look vaguely like something you may have seen before. So, very interesting story about who is the sheriff in this town and who is the race car driver and who is the devil, and all of that kind of tying together. This really is an interesting anthological series where the stories are not necessarily connected, but they're not disconnected. So it'll be interesting to see what issue 3 brings in that sort of how is it connected to the first part. So I'm really liking this. This is, again, this was my pick for Castle. This is my pick for Sean. This is definitely one of those that if you're into sort of weird Wild West-y kind of stories, this is for you. And Ship needs to get over the fact that I don't wear hats anymore. So meh. So that is it for me for this week. Is there anything left, Jay, or are we done? All right.
Can I have like 1 second? I read where's my ash can? Lord help me. I buried my ash can that I was going to show you guys. But anyway, there's a cool, oh, here it is. There's a new distillery ash can out. This is super spooky. This is like a serial killer extravaganza. Like if you're a fan of the Zodiac. And then City Beneath Her Feet. It doesn't really get into the main part of the story, but there's another Tinian awesome. This looks like it's going to be, this girl seems like she's kind of clueless, going to flitting through life. And I'm sure something big is going to happen to her. So just start thinking about the distillery again for their awesome books. Go.
All right. So everybody, if you saw a book you liked tonight or you were interested in, comment after the show or tomorrow once you've gone to your LCS about what you picked up and what you didn't. If you don't know where there's a local comic shop nearby to you, comicshoplocator.com and type in the numbers of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there's a comic shop nearby to you. Then go there and spend some money. Stay tuned. After this, we've got, I think Mint Hunter will be on tonight, as is Honest Henri from Chicago at 10 o'clock, kicking it with Henri. Tomorrow, we have Comic Collectibles as normal. And Triple T with Chuck is off, and 360 is on his way to New York Comic Con, so he will not be around tomorrow. So we only have the one show tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for it right there at 7 o'clock Eastern. Then Thursday, full slate of shows. Miss Jen, or the Dan Wickline show, Miss Jen with What's in the Box. The Geek Chat is off because of New York Comic Con again, and then we will have Mel and Mog on later in the evening. Friday, we will have the art show, even though Nick will be at New York. And Nancy will be around Friday night. And then we'll be back next week with everybody back starting Monday at 5 o'clock with Talking Shop, followed by Comic Collectibles and Best Coast Comics. So we will see everybody next week here on this show. Stay tuned for all the other great shows here on The Experience, and we will talk to you next time.